really love each other deeply. And every time you get super close and you're ready to like move in together, then boom, like something happens. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In case you're new here, my name is Kim. This is Core Union. I want to read a little bit out of Awaken Imagination, Highways of the Inner World, Chapter 3, Neville Goddard, because I want to talk a little bit about how when you are doing your inner work faithfully and you're being really disciplined and focused on creating the life that you feel deep down in your heart and soul you want, and you wouldn't be able to even feel into it unless that already existed, because all of creation is done. I just always have to remind you of that in every single video, because we do tend to fall asleep like throughout the day if we're not reminding ourselves. But anyway, I want to talk about this, and I want to use a couple things that I had manifested probably 2.5, 3 years ago with my mirror soul to illustrate it, because I think it'll be helpful, because it's all about the implication. And again, sometimes when you actually experience the manifestation in your reality, it might be exactly the same or it might not. But that's where you guys tend to give up, because when something comes up in your reality and it appears to go against what it is that you've been working on, you're recognizing, you're thinking this was your manifestation, but it wasn't your manifestation. It was the bridge. It was just coming up so you can make a decision again. So instead of doing your inner work and then, you and your person have an argument or a fight, and then you give up and you think, I failed, or this didn't work, or this is untrue, or I'm not good at this, or they don't feel this or that. This wasn't your manifestation. This thing that came up was the old story, just for you to release it and let it go and to stay consistent and disciplined in your end again. Now, the time that it takes for you to get back in your power, in your trust, that's up to you. That's really up to you. But you don't want to reject and stuff your emotions down. You want to get it out and love yourself through it. So you're doing this in a healthy way. But anyway, I'm going to illustrate a couple things, like I said, with some real life examples of a couple of things that I had manifested, and how one thing manifested almost identically to how I visualized it, and another thing was not at all, but it was actually even better. So before I get further into it, if you love me, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps my channel grow, and I appreciate you for that. If you want me to be your coach to help you manifest your SP back, email a short description to kim@coreunion.com. Then go to the website, coreunion.com, book whatever you want. My scheduling assistant, Olga, will get back to you as soon as possible. All right, so let me read this now. So page 48, chapter 3, Highways of the Inner World. There are two distinct centers of thought or outlooks on the world possessed by every man. The Bible speaks of these two outlooks as natural and spiritual. The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. Corinthians 2:14. Man's inner body is as real in the world of subjective experience as his outer physical body is real in the world of external realities. But the inner body expresses a more fundamental part of reality. This existing inner body of man must be consciously exercised and directed. Consciously exercised and directed. So you are consciously and persistently and frequently revisiting it. So you're being disciplined and focused in it. And you're basically the one steering it into the direction of what it is that you want. The inner world of thought and feeling to which the inner body is attuned has its real structure and exists in its own higher space. There are two kinds of movement, one that is according to the inner body and another that is according to the outer body. The movement which is according to the inner body is casual, but the outer movement is under compulsion. The inner movement determines the outer, which is joined to it, bringing into the outer a movement that is similar to the actions of the inner body. Inner movement is the force by which all events are brought to pass. Outer movement is subject to the compulsion applied to it by the movement of the inner body. So if your inner body, your inner man or woman, is doing things in a place of power and unconditional love and trust, then your outer body wouldn't have the compulsion to do things that aren't in alignment with being in a relationship, like checking the socials, doing these kinds of things that end up causing you guys to have that downward spiral of pain because you're feeding into the inner man or woman that doesn't have the relationship that you want. Okay. Whenever the actions of the inner body match the actions which the outer must take to appease desire, that desire will be realized. Construct mentally a drama which implies that your desire is realized and make it one which involves movement of self. Immobilize your outer physical self. Act precisely as though you were going to take a nap and start the predetermined action in imagination. A vivid representation of the action is the beginning of that action. Then, as you're falling asleep, consciously imagine yourself into the scene. The length of the sleep is not important. A short nap is sufficient. But carrying the action into sleep thickens fancy into fact. Do whatever inner work you want to do with your specific person. When you're doing it from a full battery, your cup is full. You're not just waking up feeling anxious and edgy because the day before and the days previous to that, you've just been in your old story. The reason why I want to talk about this specifically is because you can visualize something very specific from, I've heard so many people say, you must visualize from first person. I want to explain something that I manifested from first observing it in my mind as if I was watching a movie, and then I fused myself into that scene. Then I was next to my mirror soul. And then I'm also going to use another example of when I just visualized something particular, but then in my 3D, it actually didn't unfold in that way at all. But it was the implication that I was feeling into when I was doing the inner work. And then I allow it to happen however it's going to happen. And the way it ended up unfolding in the 3D was like a million times better. But again, if you end up getting the opposite in the 3D after you've been doing your inner work, it just means it's not your manifestation. You're thinking of it, this is my manifestation. This didn't work. I'm not good at this. It's not that. This that came up is the dead flowers, like I've talked about before. Dead flowers cut from the garden, put it in a vase, put a little water in it. They're not alive anymore. They're going to bloom. They're going to bloom for a few days, but eventually they end up withering away. So when the circumstance comes up, even if it comes up multiple times, it's only because of if it's the consistent belief or fear that it's going to happen again, right? So if you guys get close and you love each other deeply, and you've manifested, you guys really love each other deeply, and every time you get super close and you're ready to like move in together, then boom, like something happens. Those are the flowers that keep coming up, and maybe you fall for it every time, but give yourself a break, forgive yourself for that, forgive your person, and let's move on from it now. Let's let it go because it's part of the past. The past doesn't exist anymore. There is no past anymore. It's not connected to the now moment. It's not connected to the future. None of it is connected. That's thinking from linear time, and time is a construct of our human conditioning. Time doesn't even exist. So there is no if this happened, then this can't happen, or if this happened this way, then this has to happen this way. That doesn't exist. Those are human conditions you're putting on it. So anyway, this is what I wanted to talk about. Sorry, I went on a tangent. When I was manifesting meeting my mirror soul, Hannah, for the first time, we were getting to know each other for a good amount of physical linear time. Every morning, I was faithfully visualizing that I would suddenly get a text, I'm here, and that I would get excited and go downstairs and meet them for the first time, and that we look at each other and we're so thrilled and happy to actually see each other physically, to be able to hold each other, and we hug and we kiss, and then we come upstairs here and we talk and we hold each other again, and then we go in the room and we make out and all this wonderful stuff. That's what I was visualizing, because it was basically implying the depth of our love for each other, the depth of our chemistry and attraction for each other, how we would kiss, how we would feel looking at each other, how we would look at each other, how it felt holding each other, all of that stuff. That's what the visualization was about that. I didn't care how it ended up actually happening in the physical. How it ended up actually happening in the physical is when I was on the way to their home, and I wasn't going to be meeting them physically. I was literally just dropping something off for them. They basically said when I was 20 minutes away, how about we go out to eat? It was so exciting. I was thrilled. And we ended up going out to eat. And then we ended up at a park and there was a waterfall and it was romantic and we were talking and then there were people around. So they kind of guided me to a more private area. There was mud. I slipped in the mud. There was a vine involved. I think I grabbed for the vine. I think they may have too. And then they swooped in and gave me our first kiss. And it was heavenly. It was pure heaven. It was a million times better and even more romantic than my visualization. Then we ended up on the park bench sitting together and just talking, and it was wonderful and it was blissful. Then we laughed in the car, then we kissed some more, then we acted silly together, and it was just so much fun, and we couldn't stop laughing. Then I dropped them off. Okay, wonderful. So that was how it actually ended up playing out in the physical 3D. Were there times that happened previous to that actually unfolding where I thought we were going to finally physically meet and then something ended up happening that went against it that triggered me? Yes, there were many of those times that happened, but that's just the way it is. Because if I'm, fearful and I'm nervous and I'm kind of protecting myself, my mirror soul is too. And it's just that simple. I want to be super clear with that. Even knowing and understanding what manifestation is and doing the imaginal scenes and imagining it to imply the connection, the this energy between us that's so deep and passionate. That was the point of that. It unfolded unexpectedly and even better. The other thing I wanted to share was when people say that you absolutely have to visualize from first person. There is some truth to that I believe in, but I wanted to use another example. Another one of my favorite visual scenes that I used to imagine with Hannah was when Hannah and my mother would meet for the first time in person. So I would actually start the imaginal scene by me and Hannah driving to my mom's house, that I'm behind the steering wheel and they're next to me in the passenger seat. But then sometimes I would end up from the perspective of seeing my car pull up and then watching myself get out and watching Hannah get out and watching both of us walk up my mother's walkway, hold hands, and then I would immediately shift into being right next to them and imagine myself turn to them and smile and imagine me look up and seeing my mother happy smiling at the door. So that's how I would visualize it. So I would observe it from even the perspective of seeing myself and Hannah as if I was watching a movie, but then I would immediately, it's like I then became into the scene and then I was myself with them. Does that make sense? I even do that sometimes now with like manifesting our dream home. I'll imagine us at the dinner table having dinner and then getting up and dancing and kissing and hugging. While I'm in that scene, I'm there and I'm actually kissing them and hugging them. Now, how that actually ended up playing out in 3D was that we were hanging out here on the sofa and out of nowhere, I wasn't even expecting this. Hannah said, how about we go over and visit your mom? I was so excited. I was like, okay. And so I texted my mom and I said, Hannah wants to come over and meet you. Are you available? And she was like, yeah, come on over. So we went over there and it was almost the exact same experience. But when I imagined that, again, I was imagining we're driving up and then I was imagining seeing my car drive up. I'm the one driving the car. It's almost like watching a movie. I saw us both get out and join and hold hands and walk towards. I'm watching this, but then I was back in it. And maybe I replay the scene now that I think of it because this is how I do it. I replay the scene of being in first person also. So don't get too caught up in this part, but just remember that your inner work, it's implying romance, it's implying support, it's implying being best friends, it's implying being there for each other, it's implying closeness, safety, security, trust. That's the implication. Don't get caught up if it doesn't unfold exactly that way. Don't get caught up if in the 3D your person is a little bit reserved when you first talk to them, or that they don't immediately go down on their knee and ask you to marry them. remember, if it's not what it is that you want, it is the dead flowers. It's not your manifestation. It's not your manifestation. It's just the middle. It's just showing you something you have to look at. Okay. And then you can just safely release it and let it go. But remember that if it's a thing around abandonment, rejection, stuff like that, you need to give yourself love and you need to disassociate this pain, the emotion of rejection and abandonment stuff from your person through forgiving them. So forgive yourself for the manifestation of it and forgive them for showing you what it is that you need to let go of. Okay. Anyway, I love you so much. Please do affirm that you received the message below. Reach out to me if you need me. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Nothing can come, nothing can come, nothing can come between us.